Alright, time for my next review, and for once this thing shall actually be scripted. The game standing in my line of fire this time? Square Enix's The Last Remnant for the Xbox 360. And, according to some sources, a PS3 port is in the works to be released sometime in 2009. As per usual, the first thing up for review is the plot. The plot of Last Remnant is rather long and somewhat convoluted at points. So much so, in fact, that this game plays out across 2 discs. The only other game I own on 2 discs is Tales of Symphonia. In fact, it's the only other game I've heard of being on 2 discs. Just to give you some idea of just how long the plot of this game is. Anyway, back to actual reviewing. A big part of the story, as the title implies, revolves around these ancient and mystic artifacts called remnants. The artifacts possess all sorts of magical powers. For example, David has a remnant bound to him that operates much like an energy cannon. Because of their powers, the remnants have been the source of wars, the center points of wars across centuries. The other big plot point to the game is the Sykes family. More so specifically, the son and daughter, Rush and Irina. Rush's sister, Irina, is kidnapped, and so he rushes off to the mainland to find her. His quest for his sister, with the help of the people of Atham, ultimately leads to the unveiling of another critical plot point, one which I will not spoil, but those of you who have played the game should know what I'm talking about. Now, all in all, this is pretty standard plot for an RPG. When it's actually presented to you, it has nice moments of originality, and you also find that the game revolves more around the characters than the setting. Looking at it on paper, though, it's not that fantastic. Moving right along from the decent plot, the next thing I want to touch on is the score. This is just going to be a brief point, but I personally think the score of Last Remnant is one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. It fits the world perfectly, blending seamlessly into the background while standing sharply on the front line. But unfortunately, a beautiful soundtrack just isn't quite enough to salvage things. Graphically, Last Remnant isn't too bad. It was built using the Unreal 3 engine, but this was also Square Enix's first Unreal 3 project. And it really shows. The game hits points, both in plot and looks, where you just stop and think to yourself that this game wasn't really meant to be a real game. It was just Square Enix playing around with the Unreal 3. Once the Unreal 3 kicks in, cities, characters, and so on look amazing, but it slowly filters in from what looks like a badly pixelated old PlayStation game. My biggest graphical issue, however, is the character animation. Although allegedly filmed using motion capture, it moves like the pre-motion capture games that try to convey realistic movement. Very clunky and just plain fake looking. On top of that, the characters' faces never change, except in a few cutscenes. They always convey the same expression with a mouth that hardly moves. This makes a lot of the emotional moments tank hard. For example, Rush is elated when David agrees to help, yet his character model shrugs and the face shows no emotion. That is probably the biggest issue graphics-wise. The models belie the voices. Gameplay-wise, The Last Remnant is pretty cool. While I don't much enjoy turn-based fighting, I can put up with it. And one nice thing about this game is that it puts a bit of a spin on the traditional turn-based system. I'd love to explain this, but I've tried a few times in the past, and it's just difficult to accurately convey in words. While nothing too special, it does let in a breath of fresh air to the stale old world of turn-based combat, and it possesses only one somewhat minor flaw. Outside of combat, The Last Remnant plays out very much like your traditional RPG. The only big gameplay flaw in the game is the lack of ability to change anyone's equipment but Rush's. Rush can be customized all you want, but the rest of your party will do whatever they very well please, pretty much. And that can get really annoying sometimes. Another decently big gameplay flaw is saving. The lack of save points in exchange for the ability to save from your menu is nice, But as you get further into the game, it leaves you paranoid and you start saving every 5 minutes. The Last Remnant, while a nice concept, pretty much fails as a game. It seems to me like it either should have simply been an Unreal 3 test never to be put on the market, and at other times it plays out like it was meant to be a film, not a video game. The innovative East meets West system is an excellent theory, but like communism, it fails when it's put into practice. Enjoyment of The Last Remnant really boils down to tolerance above all else. If you can get over a lot of the issues the game suffers from, there's a lot of fun to be had, and I still say the score is the game's crown. However, The Last Remnant is really only for the truly hardcore RPG fans. If you're looking for something to eat up some time or just play the occasional RPG, odds are good by the time you've cleared the tutorial, you will be sick and tired of this game and wishing you'd never spent your $63 on it. I gave The Last Remnant a 6.3 out of 10, and just because I feel it's unfair for it to suffer the same fate, I'm going to grade the score separately. The Last Remnant's music gets a solid 10 out of 10. This is KO, over and out.
Rated M for mature.